These are stories I've told hundreds of times. So when I give a speech, I'm just telling the audience the same story.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the biggest mistakes that I made as a new Toastmaster when trying to make new speeches was not actively engaging with the content that I actually wanted to make a speech about. So for me personally, I'm really passionate about the concept of natural talent. You know, what makes somebody so good at something? Are all these great public speakers just born to be public speakers? I don't think that's really the case. And one of the mistakes that I made when trying to draft a speech about the concept of natural talent and really trying to get good at something was just kind of just waiting around and trying to think about it, but not really going out and doing research. Now, skill development, natural talent, or leadership, as all of you like, it's a concept that's been written about in thousands of books. There's plenty of YouTube videos from extremely skilled people talking about it. What allowed me to not just tap in deeper to my own experiences, but learn something new and then apply those new concepts to my own experiences was actively trying to research those concepts. I was constantly watching YouTube videos. I read this one book in particular called Peak, Secrets from the New Science of Expertise, and it's written by a Florida State professor, and he spent his entire career researching, what makes experts experts? What makes them great? And I realized a lot of those ideas and concepts I could apply to my own life. And by mixing those two together, I was able to come up with my own new speech. And I also want to add on to what Carmelo mentioned about cringe. I gave one of those speeches at Winter Park Toastmasters, and I got about like 3 hours of sleep the night before, and it was a little hastily written, right? So I went up there and I gave the speech, and about halfway through, I stand up there, and my brain just goes,
Boom.
Any of you remember that?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just stood there, and I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing. I just stood there for like the longest 30 seconds of my life looking around like, and then I ended up picking back up to the end. But about that cringe factor, I think another way to really make a better speech is to go back and watch them. I think some of us may take it for granted that all of our speeches, table topics, evaluations, and whatnot are recorded and put onto YouTube. Going back to watch those speeches is really, really, really cringy. You're going to notice very quickly that we all have these weird subconscious habits that we do when we're nervous. For me, it was clasping my hands together because I didn't know what to do with them. But by watching those speeches and those table topics, or recording yourself, which is a habit I do now at my other clubs, you will be able to improve at twice the rate. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Yeah. Right.
And Artie made a very valid point, and that is, all of you can tell me my mistakes, but I only have to watch it once on that. I only have to watch it. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on Artie's comments. I see so many people trying to find new topics to deliver speeches on. There's opportunities for us to just pause and take a look at the videos that have been recorded and practice those speeches and deliver those speeches again and again and again. There's no reason why we can't do that, especially if you've landed a good speech, a good topic that relates to the audience. There's no problems that you can't do that. I've certainly done that a number of times. Carmelo's laughing at me. So I encourage that.
What's
that? What's that?
Get me a towel.
Yeah, right. 3 times, actually.
Yes.
I thought when I joined in '04 that the only way I was going to get better was only when I was speaking. I learned pretty early on I can get better if I actually pay attention for the full 90 minutes. Alex referred to the Competent Communicator Manual. He didn't refer to the Competent Speaker Manual. There is no award designation that has the word speaker in it. It has the word communicator in it, because communication is speaking and
Listening.
Speaking and listening. By listening for the full 90 minutes, when you hear the table topic asked, instead of saying, oh shoot, can you repeat the question because you weren't paying attention? Actually pay attention, not just to your table topic, to everyone. How would I answer that? Oh, interesting speech technique. Pay attention as you're writing white slips for them, but also for you. How would I evaluate this? By using that full 90 minutes, it's free, you're there already. Avail yourself of that. The only other thing I'll say, I had never seen someone in Winter Park Toastmasters repeat a speech. And when I entered the speech contest within my first year, and went to district, I didn't realize how many times, how many ways a speech could be refined. And that helped me realize no matter how good a speech is, it can be improved and improved and improved. Thanks.
Absolutely.
John?
One other thing to keep in mind, and this goes to keeping your speech prepared, whether you're going to use notes, not notes. Everything that you want to speak about is personal experience. You were that little kid that ran down the hall into the wall. You were the emotional teenager that threw a tantrum when your girlfriend or boyfriend broke up with you. You were the 20-something that went out on a binge drinking thing and did some really dumb things. We've all done those things. And so don't be afraid to talk about those things. Use those personal experiences, because when you get up there and you completely forget what you wrote down, you still know your own story. And you always fall back on those things. Don't be afraid to talk about all those mistakes that have happened in your life. Those are usually the best stories to tell, because those are the ones everybody wants.
Absolutely.
Like,
Don't be afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Do not be afraid. We've heard several speakers talk about failing and falling flat on your face, and you're the one that ran into the wall. This is a learning lab. It really is. I have heard speakers talk about getting thrown in jail, beating alcoholism, getting caught embezzling, and they had just got out of the joint just before they joined Winter Park Toastmasters. About how they got out of gangs, about how they dealt with death, about how they dealt with love. You are going through these things. You want to, something in the back of your head says, I can't talk about that. They don't want to hear about that. Bull, they want to hear about you. It's just a series of icebreakers, you know? Talk about Carmelo's family.
No, we are family.
No. Listen, we are family. I know what you meant. Just don't be afraid. I have broken down in tears on many an occasion in the middle of a presentation. And I kind of did a Jeff Rufinaut and a Carmelo, and I just kind of closed my eyes and backed up and took a breath, and everybody knew what was going on. And they just waited until I got past that little hump, and I was able to continue with it. And I was able to continue with it because I was among friends. I was among family. So your speeches are everywhere. Your speeches are your life, and jot them down. Good Lord have mercy. I see something, it's like, oh, there's a speech in there.
There you go.
And I make a note. I've got so many extra table topics set aside. It's like, oh, I can do something on this. And I write on my file, just says table topics, and then what the main theme is. I've got table topics for years, because they happen. Thanks, Todd.
and to tag team with what Blake just said, how many of you know or heard of Joel Hunter?
Yeah.
Pastor Joel Hunter?
Yeah.
He once said something from the pulpit that really stuck with me, and that is, people will respect us for our accomplishments, but they connect with us through our foibles. Because they feel like, yeah, I understand Blake. Yeah, Blake's gonna understand me. So yeah, we want to all admire Tim Taylor for his excesses, but it isn't his excesses that we vote for when he connects with us. So, but Carmelo,
And one of the most life-changing experiences that I've had with Toastmasters. I went to college, I have a degree, but I think my Distinguished Toastmaster designation is the biggest degree of my life, because I've just learned so much about life, and so many people in Toastmasters that I probably would not be friends with had it not been for Toastmasters.
Okay.
There was a gentleman who recruited me. I didn't know the guy. We were at a Hooters for breakfast.
Of course.
Hooters didn't even serve breakfast. I didn't know Tim. I'm talking to somebody. Tim's behind me to my back, and I just heard the word Toastmasters. excuse me, tapped Tim on the shoulder where and when. He told me tomorrow at the Mount Vernon Inn, Dress for Success, and the rest is history. And Tim passed away last month. And for whatever reason, his family didn't have the wherewithal to be able to bury him the proper way. He was a veteran, an Army Ranger, and I contacted Sean Tucker, who's recently buried his brother in a similar fashion. Carson Schaefer, Carlos Benitez, they put the wheels in motion, and they were able to get his military information. We got his ashes. We've got the, what's the box?
Urn.
The urn. And we're burying him in the military cemetery next Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Toastmasters are handling
He was going to be buried as a John Doe. Now he's going to get the proper honor that he deserves.
Yes.
One thing real quick, and it ties into what Alex was saying, and on our speech topics, don't give speeches for free. Okay? This is a mistake that I made, is I got very annoyed with the Toastmasters program as it relates to being a distinguished Toastmaster. They changed it a bit, and I thought, well, I'll fix them. I'm just not going to chart any of my speeches, and I'm just doing off-the-cuff speeches and out-of-manual speeches. I figured I gave 70 speeches outside of the manual. They counted for nothing. I got good at speaking, but they counted for nothing. So if you've got a speech, use pathways. Figure out why you're in it. Just like Alex said, if this is what you want to achieve, don't give them away. Your speeches are a commodity. They're valuable. Don't let anybody hear them for free. Make sure that you're getting something out of it, specifically if you've got a manual goal that you want to take care of. So what Alex said is, I mean, you need to write that on the bathroom wall and see it every day. It's good stuff.
What I want to do at this moment is to actually transition into questions and answers from those of you that are new, that you may not, they may be rattling in your head, and you've heard so much tonight, but you haven't had those specific questions answered. So what I'd like to do now is kind of shift gears so that we more experienced individuals, while we have them all back here, can go ahead and answer your questions. So if you have a question, please don't be embarrassed to raise your hand and ask. Yes.
Okay, so in the intros, I've never known what I should include in the intro, because you don't want to give too much away, but you don't want to give like your resume or anything. Any suggestions for a good, crisp intro to give to the person? Yes.
I'm only going to give you a little slice, because what you include in the intro depends a lot on who your audience is and what your objective is. You know, is this if this is a speech to inform or a speech in which you want to induce someone to action, then it probably makes sense. It probably makes sense that you ensure that the audience knows why they ought to listen to you. What are your credentials? So if you're persuading them, for example, to avoid a certain food, they need to know that you are a dietitian or you're a doctor and you've got your board certified in this and this and this. And you don't need to be touting those credentials. Let the introducer, let the Toastmaster do that. So that's one little slice of it.
If you have a pathways goal, share that. If it's a reading speech and you don't tell everybody it's a reading speech, you're going to get blasted for reading your speech, as opposed to losing eye contact, things like that. So share that if you've got it.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. The bottom line is your name and the purpose of your speech. And the title of your speech. I've seen people get up and, without a title.
Yeah.
And anything, as was mentioned by Carmelo, you can use this to set up your speech. And I think he mentioned somebody that had a fundraiser coming up I think it's coming up this coming Thursday. She set it up and said, okay, we're not at Toastmasters. You are at the golf course. I am presenting this before we go out on the links, and I am gonna hit you up for money for our group. So that was set up so she didn't have to say it, so she could go right into her talk. Anything that can set you up for your talk, but at a minimum, your name and what the purpose of your speech is and your speech title, so we know how to best provide evaluation.
And one waste of time is if you tell, if we've got one guy that is nefarious for telling the name of his wife, that he's the only man in a all-woman, all-female, they've got the female dog, and you know what? If he's talking about, let's just say finance, what does his family have to do with that? Unless it's because he's trying to make enough money to support that. But make sure it's relevant to what your speech is. And as I think it was Blake said, it's got to be something that qualifies you and gives you the credentials that, hey, Ty wants to listen to this because of.
Okay. And one other thing I'll add to that. Make sure when you give your introductions, they are printed out in a large font, so your Toastmaster is not sitting there squinting trying to read what you scroll down. Big tip.
Yeah, that's to do yourself a favor. Make sure your introducer reads your introduction in front of you before it's time. It's horrendous when you sit there in a meeting and you realize the first time that Toastmaster has read the introduction is when the speaker's sitting over there to his right.
And correct them. If they don't read it the way you want it to be read.
Oh,
It's a Russell's Carnell. That's okay.
Right.
Say, no, I want you to say it this way.
And one of the things that you can do to ensure that, if there's a difficult name, is to spell it out with like bold for the first syllable. That's the one that, okay, Kamenker, so I C-A-M in bold, and Kerr.
Ty, I've got a comment.
Also, keep in mind, an introduction should not be a page long.
Mhm.
It should only be somewhere around 20, 30 seconds. And if it starts running on beyond that, you're cutting into everybody else's, and you're not really having much benefit for all the other individual things that you put into your introduction.
Ty, I've got a comment. It's not a question, it's really a comment. Those of you that are new speakers, I really believe what Carmelo said. Bring an outline up there. Know your speech, bring an outline. If you write down the whole thing, and I've done this 100 times, and every time I get a review, it's like, you read your speech too much. If it's all written down, even though you say, I already know it, your eyes are going to glance at it, and you're going to start reading it. And I've won many speeches, but I've lost speeches because the big comment was, you read your speech too much. So just don't read it, just use an outline, and you'll remember it. You'll remember it as it comes to you, so. And practice, practice, practice.
And Jeff touched on an item. He said that speaking is an art. And it is. It truly is. Because how you weave that together, it's like a sculptor or a painter. You know, it's you. And the gestures. I love Professor Kamenker's. He's got this one gesture I can't even emulate it. It's like he twists his hand. Yeah, I gotta master that. I love it. So anyway, it's you. So it is an art, and I appreciate you alluding to that in your presentation. Other questions? Yeah.
General question / comment. Something that already mentioned regarding videos. They're without a doubt one of the more important learning tools to actually see yourself, how you sound, how you look to your gestures and whatnot. Something that Blake mentioned about people kind of opening up. I get the links to the videos. They're not necessarily password protected. So you mentioned, like, say, the embezzlement speech. I remember that speech, and I start to think to myself, like, oh, geez, like, you know, it's just, it's one thing to say it amongst, you know, like Carmelo said, our family, but as far as these being posted, can they be like on the Toastmasters site and password protected?
I'll tell you something about that. Several times people come to me after and say, please don't post my speech.
Okay.
And what I tell them, I said, like, I'm gonna put it up there, I'm gonna make it private. I'll send you the link, and you're the only one that can see it unless you share the link with somebody else.
Okay.
So if you don't want your speech done,
Yeah.
you don't want it posted publicly, just tell me, or whoever's recording your,
Tim's done that for me before.
yeah.
Yeah, I gave a speech one time that included a personal, it's learning for me, a personal experience of my daughter. And I shared that with her, and she said, you did not post that. And had to retract that. Tim sent me a private link to it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I would also say from the standpoint of Toastmasters, when you're in that position for the first time, or even the 100th time, and when you're the master evaluator, the same rule applies. Don't steal the thunder of the evaluator. How many times have you seen a Toastmaster say, wow, that was a powerful speech, and Carmelo? I never saw, they'll make some kind of a comment. How do you know that wasn't what the evaluator was going to open up with? And you've just stolen the thunder that he was going to roll on. So if you want to make that comment as a master evaluator, wait until after the evaluator has made the conversation so that they stand a chance of winning a trophy. Because unlike some people who think that the trophies aren't important, that they're up there just simply to share things like Professor Kamenker. No, I want that trophy. And I know that everyone else in here would like to get one.
Says the man with 250 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions? Yes.
I had a comment, if I could.
Yes.
On the evaluation slip, there is a spot to give the Toastmaster some feedback and the master evaluator.
Yes.
So you can definitely do that.
Yes. And also, well, I won't put that. Go ahead. And you said?
Yes, I have another question. I think you said that you can ask the head table to move. I've never, that's really kind of interesting. Will you say,
yeah.
hey, guys, I don't want to give my back to you. Can you move to the side? Is that a cool
That's
thing?
it.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, you instruct them what to do.
Okay.
You don't really ask them. Just say, I need you guys to vacate.
Okay.
If you would, that'd be great.
So please sit on the side because I'm,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Plus, they enjoy the speech a lot more because they can see you speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea.
You
'Cause
watch-
I think I've had that issue where I'm like looking behind
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
watch videos, look at the people at the head table, even
Okay.
when someone's behind the lectern. When you're the Toastmaster or the master evaluator, you're being broadcasted. We watched the speech the other day, and Sean Tucker, bless his soul, was like this, and he looked like he was trying to go to the bathroom. Or he looked like he was in some kind of pain, or he was tired, he didn't want to be there. I mean, you can describe it several different ways, but it's our duty to point that out to him, to say, hey, you have to make sure you realize you're being videoed. And you want to give respect to the speaker as well. Pay attention to what's going on.
Does Winter Park video every single,
Pretty much.
We do, yeah,
it's pretty cool.
yeah.
We have videos in the bathrooms.
Tonight's going to be posted. Just go to our page and you can find it. If you want to rehear some of the talks, just it'll be up
If you
there.
want to smile also, make sure you smile, because if you're not smiling, you look angry.
Yeah.
One of the cool things about having videotape is you can go back and a speech where you thought you screwed up
Yeah.
was a screw up in your mind. It really wasn't that bad. I remember one time I thought I'd like completely lost my voice, and when I was going through the Competent Communicators Manual, and I rolled back the tape on it, and like, it was over like that. It wasn't that bad. Don't worry about it.
Question for you, Ty. Where do you keep all those trophies?
I don't have.
Jordan's got 'em.
Professor Kamenker has 250, and Jeff Rufinock has almost 200. So, these are the experts. That's why they're speaking here, because they've won so many and they've got the experience. And I will admit that some of the speeches, and I want all of you who have not experienced it yet, all of the speeches that you give that you believe that you really should have won and you did not, just remember that it equals out. And there will be times where you come in and you just know you did a terrible job and you walk away with the trophy. It's just the averages, and sometimes it's the way that it happens. So it all works out in the long run. Because I know the first 80 times that I didn't get that trophy, I knew I deserved one every time. Not really. Yes.
Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
You're up. Appreciate it. It's not just about the speaking, it also is the evaluating side of things. Those white slips that go out, don't just put good job. I can't tell you how many speeches I've gotten, and there's a stack of them. Good job, you did this really well. And there's one person on there that actually gave me something critical. Somebody else reminded me of that this past week. That critical feedback is why we're coming. So if you're just filling out good job on something, save the paper, save the pen.
It's a waste of time.
Save my time.
It's a waste of time.
It really is.
Great speech, amazing. Don't waste my time.
Nice.
Give me something to improve.
Yeah.
I'm not there to be stroked. I'm there to hear how I can improve.
And just a question, we're not implementing the shock collars, right?
I think it's a great idea.
We should.
But any other,
Speaking of
Yeah,
shot callers, when the yellow light comes on, wrap it up.
Yep.
Because as Carmelo says, what you don't finish, no one else really knows what it is. You feel like you have to force in your speech because you're determined to get it out there. It's just not that important. Yellow light comes on, wrap it up.
Get that speech again.
and another good time, that's a great point. And another great time to shut up is when people start dinging on your ducks and stuff. Because when they start doing that, you're not getting through to them. So you might as well just shut up and beat the red light.
Yep.
Because Carmelo's not gonna stop.
Yep.
I wish I wasn't the only one.
I wish we had glasses
I
like
missed
we
the
used to
operator.
have at the restaurant. And that way everybody can get in on a crescendo. Any other last moment questions, comments?
Yes, Professor, where do you keep your trophies all the time?
I've returned them all.
It's true.
Yeah. What happens is, no, go ahead, I didn't want to skip your thunder. I just wanted to get it on there. What happens is when you gather 10, you turn those in, and you get a little bit bigger trophy. And then when you get
25.
250, you get
Yeah.
a huge thing that you have to pull it with a trailer.
I'd like to say just one thing. We have a club meets tomorrow at noon. If anybody would like to speak, get with me, and I'll get you in for a speaking slot tomorrow at 12, Winter Park, different club. Leaders in communication.
All right. Well, hearing no more questions, no more concerns, and I know that you're all going to give award-winning speeches the next time you're up there, or evaluations, and there's not going to be any more uhs or ahs or double clutches. We've all learned those are no-nos. So you guys are good to go, and I'm just going to hate competing against you because I know you're going to win. But it's all good.
Let's thank Ty for putting this together.
And we're going to close with comments from our president, Mark Shear. Will you come up here, please?
I can, I was gonna make it kind of chill, a fireside chat in the back.
Area director, future.
So, I just really wanted to maybe just close us out with sharing some information about what Winter Park Toastmasters has meant to me, and hopefully it'll leave you with some encouragement and a call to action. I joined Winter Park Toastmasters 26 years ago. And I can remember when I walked through the doors of Winter Park Toastmasters at the old Langford Hotel, which now the Alphon Inn stands on. I was greeted by Ty Patton, I was also greeted by distinguished Toastmaster Blake Smith, and he later became my mentor, which I really valued that a